last section of the exposition from Mozart K.333. I know that the assignment is to analyze and go through with me for the whole piece. This is my fourth video. They're taking about 10 to 12, 13 minutes per section. So I think we'll make this assignment capped at the exposition, and then I'll put up another one for the development, and then I'll put one up for the recapitulation at a different time, because this is going to take you more time, I think, than is reasonable for the one assignment and the points it's worth. We'll get through all of it, but we'll just do it in a couple stages. So, all right. So, key of F. Now, like we did all this transition stuff, and now we get this. It's sort of it, and this here is copied there, which is copied and then extended. It's sort of a sentencey idea, although it's not a sentence. And then here is the same thing as there, just up the octave, right? And then it's different ending, which takes us up and gives us a cadence. And if this was a different composer, we might have ended right there. But Mozart realizes that he can get some mileage out of this, and so he's going to take us around the block one more time before he finishes, which is great. You know, if you're going to go on a long drive with somebody, Mozart's not a bad choice. Okay? So, this is a 1 chord. This is a 4, 6, 4 right there, right? So maybe B flat, D, F chord. And this stuff here, I guess we're going to analyze it. 1, right? And then we have an E and a G and a B flat. There should be an F in here somewhere. We just don't have it, so we're going to have to call it 7 instead of a 5, right? And then 7 goes to 1, but it's got the E flat. So that's the 7th, the chord, plus it's been turned into a dominant, F, A, C, E flat, right? Or A, C, E flat, sorry. So this is like, this should have gone to 1, right? Should have been a 5 chord. It's not, it's a 7. Should have gone to 1. Instead of 1, it goes to a 5 of 4. But instead of the 5 of 4, it's a substitute 7 for the 5 of 4. So this here is A, C, E flat. So it's a 7, 6, 4 of, sorry, not 6, 4, 7, 2, because, no, 6, 4, because we don't have a root, okay, of 4. Let me explain that again. 1 could have been a 5 chord, but instead it's a 7. 5 would like to go 1, could have been a 5 chord, but with this E flat, it's going to become a 5 of the 4, right? The 1 transforms into the 5 of the 4, but since there's no root there, we have to call it 7 as a substitute for that. So 7 of 4, and then here's my 4, which is in second inversion, and then he does it again, and I guess I'm writing it in. There's my 7 chord, and this is my 7 diminished 6, 4 of 4, and then down here is my 4, 6, 4 again. And like I said, I'm not disappointed in Mozart that he recycles his music. It's important to be able to have good material you can use again. He's writing in an improvising style where he can say, I'll balance this out and do it again, right? And if we look, he's kind of playing the same game even here, right? But then instead of bailing and doing it again, he'll do an extended run. So what that means is that we still have a 1 right there, right? And then another 7 diminished, and then should have been an F chord, but then it turned into an F dominant, but the F isn't there, so it's not a 5 of 4 again, it's a 7, 6, 4, diminished 6, 4 of 4, right? And here's my 4 chord right here, it's in that inversion again. And then we have another like C, E flat, A, C, E flat, right? So that's another one of these. So it's 7 diminished of 4. And now we have our 4 in root position, right? And then we have a E and a G and a G. It feels like it's the E, G, B flat, which is the 7 chord again. It's missing the B flat, but still feels like that. So E, G, B flat, so that's 7 diminished 6. And this is my 1, 6 right here, F and A. And this would suggest that it's going to become the 5 of the next chord right there. right? And this is my B flat chord. I'm not going to mark it there. It's suggestive of this becoming a 5 of 4, like a 5/7 of 4. But we don't really have enough information. Or you can say I completely see it there. Like that's what it is. But we don't have to mark it that way. And then this goes all the way down. With this being the chord tones and now switching here like this, you could make a case and an argument that these two are saying we've got some kind of C chord going on there, right? And I think that's not a bad case. Like 4 goes to 5, right? Or 7 in this case. It's missing the C, but right? Okay, so we'll call that 7 diminished. It's tough to know what to do for the inversion, but it's dominant, right? Ish. And certainly by the time we get to here now, it's dominant because this is a 1/6/4, right? It's a F A C, but the C's in the bass, and this is my 5/7 chord right there. This whole thing is just a dominant like that, and then we go 5/7 to 1. And again, we could have stopped way earlier, but like could have stopped here. It's a perfect authentic cadence. Could have stopped. Well, I don't know. That's the first place maybe we could stop. And he's going to do this thing again, different on the end, but this thing here is the same thing. It's just up an octave, so it looks a little weird. But there's my F A, F A right there. There's my E G B flat right there. There's my E flat and the A and C. It's all the same right there. There's my D and B flat, and here's my B flat and my D, and he stuck the F underneath there because it helps reinforce that we're in the key of F. It's kind of like a pedal tone. It's just part of the chord. Do I want to write all this in? I guess so. Like this here is actually the same as up here, right? So we have 1, and then we have like 7 diminished, and then we have 7 diminished 6/4 of 4, and then we have a 4/6, and then we have a 1 now because this is below, so we have a 1, and then we do it again. So I'm not going to write it. That's there, that's there, that's there, right? And guess what? It's the same thing right here again, right? So he's varying it. Like you can see the texture varies as he bails out and does a different thing. So I guess we'll write it in. 1, 7 diminished. Then this is a 7 diminished 6/4 of 4. And there's my 4 chord right here, right? 6/4. This is a F A C. This is a 1/6. This is a B flat and then an F and a D. So that's my 4. And then here it's like F G G, and then we have like E natural. It's like, I think this is like you're driving through pedal tone, except it's not in the bass, and this is supposed to be like a 5-ish chord right here, right? So, or another 7 kind of thing like this, right? And then we have A and we have F there, so there's a 1/6, so it makes sense. We've got, this chain and then a dominant going to there. And then here, we have B flats and a D, and it's like, I guess this is our 2 or 4 chord, and this is similar to right there. In recollecting about this, I'm going to call this a 2 chord, I think. I like the G and the D framing it up. It's something predominant that takes us to there, right? Same thing here. You can call it a 2 chord like this, or you could call it, an extension on this, but maybe it's a 2, right? Not any bass note to give us, confirmation. And then we're doing our, 1/6/4 for a lot longer, and then this is a 5 chord, right, for the 7th for a lot longer. And like I said, it should end, and you get your 1 chord there, and this perfect authentic cadence, and you have this lovely trill. We should be done, but we're not, because we're going to go around the block one more time, right? So if we look here, this is a 1 right here, and this is a G and an E, right? So it's pseudo 5. This is a F and a D. It's 4. It's the same thing that we've been doing here on all the others, because it's not supposed to present new material. It's supposed to say we're getting done here. So the repetition helps us know that we're coming to the end. But this is like a 1 chord here, and you know, this is like a C and E, so 7 diminished. It's really intimating a 5 chord, right? So that'd be an E G6, and then this is an F and an F, which is like my 1 chord, and this is my E and my G, so that's like 7 diminished again. And then this here, the E flat and the A, should be another 1 chord just like before, but instead of that, they put the E flat, so it's like a 1 dominant 7, which is the 5 4. There's not enough there to call it a 5. It's like a 7 diminished 6 4 of 4. Sorry, it takes a long time to get around to that. We should expect a 4 chord on the next page. And there's our 4 chord right there, right? B flat D, right? So 4, and that would be 6 4. I think these, you know, can be, this is my 1 chord. And then, that's interesting right there. Let's get to that in a second, okay? Because I think you can look at it like he's just doing a chromatic passing tone, but there's an explanation for what to call the chord. That being said, when we find something weird like that, we isolate it and we just, you know, go around it, right? So, like this here feels like it's a C and an E. That's my 5 chord, and this is, I know this is above, but it comes back down. I feel like this is my 1 chord, right? And this is another E and an E. It's kind of like, you know, the same thing, right? It's just the leading tone. We'll call it 7 diminished because there's nothing else there. And then here's my 1 chord again, right? And then here's my 1 chord again. And it's flipping what we did texture-wise here, right? And doing it again right there. Now let's come back to this chord right here for a second. We're going from a 4 to a 1 to here. And if we just analyze this right here, we've got like a B flat and a D flat and a G and an F. And you got to say, well, which ones are chord tones and which ones are not? But I think what we have here is just a little mode shift, right? It's like he goes from this chord to that chord to that chord, and he's going like, it's going la, lay, so. That's what he's doing, right? So you say, well, what chords have lay in them that would be borrowing? Well, a 4 turned into a minor 4, right? That would work, right? And so we have B flat, and then D flat, and then F. And I think that's probably what it is. I think it's just minor 4. That's my 6 4 again. And we would have to mark it modally borrowed because it's borrowed from the minor, right? Which takes us through a 1 right there, and then, yeah, I think so. Okay. And then this is all 1 right here, and then we go 7 diminished. You know, I hate calling these 7 diminished because in some ways they're just incomplete 5 chords. Like when we see a, you know, this right here, we can call that a 1. Mozart's not worried about filling out the entire chord. He's happy with being a 7 or being a 5. It doesn't matter. It just depends on what kind of texture and music he wants to write at the time. This is my 7 diminished. It's exactly the same as before. This is the 7 diminished. 6 4 of 4, and there's my 4 chord right there in first inversion. I'm going to put this up here, and then here, so I think this is just my 4 chord, and then here, these are non-chord tones. This is a C with an A and a C above, so it feels like a 1 6 4. There's not explicitly an F in there, but it's just a texture thing, right? And then it changes into a 5 with the 7th right there. And then a 1, and then that's all there. And these are the suspension, and that is an appoggiatura, but really they don't count there for flavor. And there's the rest of your chord right there. And that's that. Now, that was a big burn because between the beginning all the way here is a lot of information, a lot of chords to cover. We'll do another assignment where we analyze all of the development. That'll be fun. It's actually really, really good to learn how that. We'll see it actually breaks into sections, help you with your listening test. And then the nice thing about the recapitulation at the end here, it starts right there, is we can transfer almost all the chords from the first exposition to here. It's just where it has to be tweaked to be different. We've done the analysis where the transitions are different. Recapitulation transitions are a little longer because there's some extra material, and he also has to not change key in the first one, and everything else is like really the same. So don't fear, we'll have a little slog through the development, and then we'll definitely get through the exposition quickly.